If you've been stuck and you have a situation where you feel like you're at a job and not getting recognition, you are doing things and doesn't seem to be going your way, either the business, at the job, this is the video for you because it'll give you 5 steps that's really, really going to help you understand how to present yourself in a certain way to make sure that you get what you deserve and make sure that you are getting the promotions and raises that are due to you.
What's up, Yaba? How you doing, brother?
What's up, Nate? How you doing, brother?
I'm fantastic, brother. Always good to see you, man. I'm
Right
excited.
here,
I'm
brother.
excited about our topic today
I am
because,
too,
as
actually.
always, as always, we have these long conversations. We get on the phone and we just start talking. All of a sudden, it turns into these long conversations. And you know, I thought this was one that we needed to absolutely share with the masses, right? So we've been talking about some of the steps that you took when you were in corporate America that helped you become very successful. And so, I was looking back at my career in corporate America, 28 to 30 years, and I said to myself, man, if I had some of this information, if I had just a fraction of it, if I had a mentor like you giving me some of this information, how much further would I have been in my career in corporate America? How much more could I have excelled, right? And so I think it's important that we share some of the information that you share with me in these conversations with the masses, and I think it's going to be very helpful to a lot of people. So, Yaba, let's go through some of the steps that you shared with me in our conversations these past couple of days.
Most definitely, brother. So, one of the things that, first and foremost, these steps aren't necessarily my steps. I just kind of pulled things from different areas and kind of
Right,
made these steps up for myself
right,
because what I noticed in corporate America, there are a lot of people out there, and some of you guys are probably watching this video, that you're the best person in the office, but you're not getting the recognition, the promotions, or the raises.
mm,
You know that you're the best person at the nonprofit or in your own business and you're trying to compete, but for some reason you can't get people to see you. These
right.
steps are designed to get people to see you and not only see you, reward you. How do I know that? Because when I use these steps, I actually got 3 promotions and 4 raises in a 4-year period. And that sounds
Wow,
almost unheard of in corporate America, right? You don't get that going on. But
absolutely.
what you have to do, there's a couple things you must do, and you also must be willing to understand that this is not about your friends at work or being the nice guy. You don't have to be mean, but you gotta understand corporate America is not designed for a family environment, right? It's not designed that way. And a lot of times corporate America will keep you in a position because they need you there, even though they know you could do better and you should be paid more, but they can use you there, so they want to keep you there. You had to force their hand a lot of times. So without further ado, let's start getting to some of these steps. There's actually 5 steps. And
Okay.
the first one I want to get into is vision, right? So when you must set a vision for your career. So whenever I go to a new corporation or a new job, I look at what do I want to accomplish ultimately in this job. Do I want to get to be a VP? Do I want to be a manager? What is the goal? And then it becomes a vision. Then the vision, I can see myself there. Right? So I'm looking at, okay, if I'm going to be a vice president, what do I need to be a vice president? What are the qualifications? How do I get there? So now I'm going to see myself in that position, but I also want to now create some steps in between. So if I'm a manager, how many steps between manager and vice president are there? What are the things that I need to do to be vice president? So I'm gonna find somebody who's a vice president in the company and try to figure out how they got there. I might read an article. I might try to meet them individually. I'm gonna try to figure out how can I find out exactly what they did to get there. So, and also the other part of a vision is some days it's gonna get tough. You're gonna want to quit. Some days you ain't gonna be there. Your vision keeps you on the right path. It helps you get over the bumps and the humps and it makes you feel like, okay, this is a bad day. But my ultimate goal, my vision is there. And that's where I'm going. And I'm gonna bring Nate back in here on this and have him because I know Nate has a lot of experience with the vision as well because we both came up through network marketing. We both came up
Absolutely.
in an organization that really taught vision. What's your take on vision? How does vision affect how people produce and go forward?
You know, Yaba, it is so critical in your success because, like you said, there are going to be hard times. There are going to be days where you don't feel like, you know, pursuing those goals or doing the things that you need to do, right? To help you meet those goals, right? And that's when you rely on your vision. And I would even go further and to say you should write your vision down so that when you have those hard times, those hard days, you can pull that vision out and read it to yourself. Read it to yourself and start focusing on why you have to do the things that you need to do today so that you can accomplish that vision. So it's so important to have a vision. Very important, Yaba.
And I think if you never had the opportunity to draw a vision, it's simply create a movie in your head that you can replay over and over again to yourself. And I tell people all the time, your imagination is probably used the wrong way. And what do I mean by that? We all can imagine the worst case scenarios pretty easily, right? You think about if like this happens, oh man, this can happen, and this can happen, this can happen. That's your imagination working in the wrong direction. You can then take that same way that you think about the worst thing, you also think about the best thing. And I know I've tried that before, it doesn't work,
Yep.
right? The reason why it doesn't work is because you haven't committed to it. You haven't committed to seeing it over and over again to the point where you can smell it, you can feel it, you can taste it, you can see it. You have to involve almost all your senses into creating a vision for yourself. So you're almost living it before it happens. And then things start to follow right behind it. So vision is the first step. I agree with Nate. Write it down. You might even rewrite it sometimes to get it more clear over
Yep.
time, but make
Yep.
sure that you are doing that's a key component. And you can do a vision for your family, you can do a vision for your life in general. So maybe you don't plan to be at this company very long. Like I don't plan to be at companies very long because a lot of times they're not going to pay what you're worth. So I'm gonna
Right.
keep it moving
Yep.
and find a company who's going to pay what I'm worth over time. So make sure your vision for where you are, the current situation you're at, the vision for your family, and the vision for what you want your life to look like down the road. So that's
And
step one.
yeah, but I even have an affirmation for that.
Sure.
That people can say every day. I embrace challenges. I embrace challenges as opportunities for growth.
There you go. And that's actually true. The one constant thing in this world is change and obstacles. That's gonna be constant. Your ability,
Guaranteed.
guaranteed, your ability to use vision to overcome those will be the difference in your success, in my opinion. And all I can say, if you use these five things, vision's number one. We'll go through
Yep.
four more steps. We also are going to invite you to join our Patreon, where we're going to continue a deeper discussion on these things. We can get more detailed ways you can go about improving yourself and making sure that you can guarantee yourself a promotion and guarantee yourself raises and things like that. So step two. Step two is your work identity. Now, what is a work identity?
Mm.
Those are already created as well. You know, John. Everybody knows John coming late, right? All the time. Everybody knows John half does his work. That's John's work identity. He's somebody who does not get things accomplished the way he should, and nobody's gonna look at him for every promotion, right? You must honestly look at what your work identity is. So, what I tend to see people do is highlight the best parts of themselves. I should get a promotion. That's great. You should highlight yourself, but also be real about how many times were you late this year? How many times did you miss a deadline? Did in your evaluation were there certain things that your boss or your supervisor pointed out that you have not fixed?
Right.
Those all things attribute to your work identity. So what you want to do is go in first. If you've been there a couple of years or been there 5 years, go through your evaluations first and figure out the things that they're pointing out to you that you need to work on. Work on them and fix them. Then you want to be the person that defines the type of employee that the company wants. So I often hear, they pay me from 9 to 5. That's all you're gonna get. You can do that, but your work identity is gonna reflect that too. That you're not a team
Yes,
player,
indeed.
that you're not willing to do what it takes to win. All those things are going to be to attach to you. And this is fine if you don't plan to get promotions or raises at that job. That's fine. But if you want to get promotions and raises at the job that you are, your work identity has to raise the level of that. So what I mean by that is no one had to ask me to come in at 7 a.m. when I was supposed to be there at 9. No one asked me to stay until 10 p.m. I was supposed to leave at 7. What I look at is the job at hand. What does it take to complete the job? Then I then set how I'm supposed to do things after that. So when the boss shows up, sometimes I'm already there. When he's leaving, sometimes I'm still there. When certain things to be turned in, I'm making sure there's no grammatical errors. I'm making sure there's extra things in the presentation. I'm making sure I looked at every single angle before I even present it to anybody. So whatever question comes up, I got an answer for that. Now, after that, I begin to shine as a person like, okay, every time something comes up, Java's here. Every time something needs to be done, Java does it. Whenever something comes up that nobody knows, somehow Java knows how to do that. So now when promotions time come up, who's the first person's name? My name is the first name that comes out because I've established my work identity as I'm a person who's going to do what it takes to win. Now, the reason I'm doing that is to set myself up so I can dictate what positions I want and what raises I want.
Ooh.
Nate, how do you feel about that?
Bro, when you were talking, I was thinking about, we both like sports, so we talk a lot about sports too. But I
Yep.
was thinking about how, when you're watching ESPN and, sometimes the commentators are speaking very highly of a player, right? And they talk about basically that person's work identity. He's the first one in and he's the last one to leave,
Right.
right? So he's that person, that player has already established that identity, and everybody knows him as a hard worker. So they're going to counter him. And what happens is that's the person that ends up getting the really huge contract,
Yep.
right? So it's the same thing. Establish yourself as again, you were talking about a problem solver.
Yep.
So don't be the person that's always bringing up the problems but doesn't have a solution. Find the issues that are there and bring up a solution to fix it. That's another way to establish your work identity.
Excellent point. I think the sports reference is a really good point because that is what people say a lot of times about those players. That
Yeah,
they doing film without being asked. They're watching film on their off time.
exactly.
I think the guy for the Commanders, I can't think, Bobby Wagner. He
Yeah,
came on an off day to watch film study, and the guys start seeing him do that. So now the whole team comes in on the off day to watch film.
right,
So, what do you think management looking at when they look at like this guy's? He's the type of player we want to have. He's the type of player we want
right,
to pay.
right.
You know what I mean? So those are thought processes you have to have about yourself. Is understand that this is never about the corporation you're working for or the company. It's really about you and giving you leverage on how you can then. So
Leverage.
now,
That's right. That's right.
so
You
so
want to
you are
stand out.
presenting yourself. Yeah, you present yourself as somebody who should be promoted because I'm going to establish the type of culture that Bobby Wagner did for the Commanders, where people come on an off day to get things done. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Work
All
identity, man. So important.
so the third thing is corporate culture. Now you don't hear this a lot on these types of videos, and people talk about improving yourself and these types of things. The reason why I put this in here, the CEO, sometimes the president, has these different initiatives that they want to accomplish, and it goes company wide, right? We are going to do this now, and without a doubt, there are people go, oh, here we go again. You know what I mean? It's like there's another thing they're gonna change. They're always trying to do something different. And that is accurate, right? Because we've all been in there where people want to establish certain things that don't make a lot of sense. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. What I'm saying, once there is a CEO that you can believe in, or a president you can believe in, and you know this is a corporate change of culture, find out how to be the best at it. And this is the reason why. Because now that president CEO is looking for the people who are going to be the flag bearers for the culture they're trying to change. So if you become an expert or one of the best in the company at whatever change they're making, you automatically show yourself as somebody who's following the lead of the president or the CEO. They also going to think that's somebody I'm keep an eye on. So right now, I don't care how big your company is, if you can get the attention by being one of the top people in the change or the corporate culture, you're putting yourself on the map with some of the top people in that company almost automatically. What do you think about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I agree with you 100%. And you know, I be it's funny because as you were talking too, I'm just thinking about just and which we're trying to keep politics out of this, Yaba, and I get it, but it's exactly what's happening right now, right? Because people are following a certain culture, right, so that they can move ahead
In a bad way.
within the
That's a
company.
bad example
Right,
of it.
right. It's not in a positive way, but you know, but you're right. Find out what the corporate culture is. What it is we're trying to accomplish as a company, and you know, make sure that you're doing things that fits into that culture. Right now, if you're against it, you don't want to be a part of it, then you need to get out of there. It's that simple,
And I'm gonna give
right?
you an
But if
example.
this
So,
is a company that you love and this is something that you want to do, then you have to fit in and make sure that you're following and understanding what the culture is and living up to that culture.
and let me give you an example because we're talking about in general terms. So, I was at a Fortune 500 company, and the district manager and the VP wanted to start developing talent from within. They want to start promoting from within, and they're looking for managers who were going to develop employees for leadership positions right above them. They said it several times, right? So I heard it. I began to talk to I was a manager at that time of 10 employees. So I told all 10 employees, I said, they're looking for people to promote. These are things they want to happen. So I think if you guys do these things, that'll make you promotable. I didn't just stop there. I took pictures of all my employees and created a chart, and a monthly chart of how they progress in these four categories, right? And how they compared in the district and in the nation. And so I began to post those for the 6 months. And as you can see, you saw them moving up the board because we spent time afterwards because they wanted to get
Wow.
promoted. I want them to get promoted. So then we figure out, okay, where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are. How can we improve your strengths a little bit more and bring up your weaknesses? And the district manager will come in once a month through our office, and he starts seeing this chart. He's like, "Oh, who told you to do that?" I said, "Nobody told me to do that." He said, "When did you do that? When did you do all that?" I said, "On my off time at home on my computer." He said, "You went home on your computer and created this?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Okay." And he came back the next month. "Oh, I see you guys moving up the chart." I said, "Yeah, they're working really hard." I didn't say, "Look at me, look at my team." I was
Right,
like,
right,
they're
right.
they're working hard, they're doing the thing. So what am I doing here? I am taking a culture that he's trying to create, presenting myself as somebody who believes in it, and then developing people to do the thing that he wants to do. So how am I showing myself? I'm showing I'm your guy. If you're trying to implement these types of things, I'm your guy. And he ended up promoting me and give me a raise within 6 months.
So I mean, even in that, there goes the initiative. There goes initiative and culture. You just covered two things right there,
Right.
right?
The work
Yeah,
identity and the culture, right?
exactly, exactly. All in that in that example. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Yeah, so we're going to go to number 4, which is how you document everything. This is one of the things I see a lot of Black professionals and minority professionals make the mistake of doing, right? What's the mistake? You assume that everybody sees you working. You assume that everybody sees how well you're doing. And they do for the moment. But we all know human beings. They remember the bad more so than the good, right?
Amen.
So if you do something great in February, but your evaluation is in December, do you think they remember what you did in February?
Right. Right.
If they do remember it, they remember all the work you did in February, how you went the extra mile, how you did. They're not, it's too much stuff going on in their own mind, right? Your supervisor probably has sometimes 5, 10, 15, 20 employees underneath them,
Yes,
right?
indeed. Yes,
They
indeed.
might not remember it. So your job is to document what you're doing. So working on a project, it's very simple. You can send an email to yourself. You can create notepad on your, it's a notepad on your iPhone or your Android. Just document dates. I did this, I accomplished this on this date, right? If you're training somebody and you want to get credit for developing people, send an email to your trainee. How did it go today? Did you learn a lot? They'll respond back. Oh, I learned a lot. It was great, blah, blah, blah. So now you got documentation from that. If your employer, your supervisor says something great about you, like my wife, they told her she was a genius. I was like, okay, you take that, you put that in a folder, right?
You better write that down.
Yeah, no, you're right. You just put it right in the folder. And so when evaluation time comes up, and they call it, like, she's been called a genius, she's been called all different things, because she's really good at her job. But what happens is they forgot too. At all the stuff she was doing, they were not remembering all the things because she was doing so many things well. They kind
Right.
of go together, right?
Right.
And so your job is to make sure that when you sit down for evaluation, that you can pull out the whole year. And of course, you don't want to go by step by step by step. You don't want to be, don't be a, don't be that person. But
Yeah.
give a general understanding of, I'm one of the top people in my office. This says it. You acknowledged it on several occasions through your email. So why can't I get that promotion?
Yep.
I actually
Yep.
had that conversation with one of my bosses. He was like, well, this person's in front of you. They've been here 5 years. And I was like, that's great. Have they been number one in all four categories? He was like, no. So I
Okay.
shouldn't have wait behind them. They've been
Exactly.
here 5 years and couldn't do it. I did
Right.
it in 6 months.
Right.
So it's not hard math. You know what I mean? So get good at documenting your accomplishments, but also document also your challenges too. Because what you're creating is either your application for a promotion at your current job or your application for your new job, right?
Exactly.
Because sometimes they won't promote you inside because whatever reason, politics, as Nate mentioned before, sometimes people just don't like certain people or they want certain people to be in certain positions. So you might take that documentation somewhere else. And now when they ask you those interview questions that we all know you're going to get, what do you need to improve on? What's the other one? They give you a bunch of uh I'm trying to think of all the interview questions that
What are
people
your
ask.
weaknesses? What are the weaknesses that you want to work on? Right.
What do you want to work on?
Yeah.
Tell me
Yeah.
a time where you were challenged and you overcame the challenge. Those type of
Right. Right.
questions.
Right. Right.
So you have all this already written out. So it's a very simple process of just memorizing a couple of things that you want to use in the interview that you already done. You want to cover being a team player. You want to cover how you work hard. You want to cover how you aspire to do certain things. All the things that interviewers are looking for, you've already
Yep.
written it all down, and you can then speak to it very clearly and concisely, and also show them you're the person to be hired for the new position.
Yep.
So the last thing that I was going to say, we're going to talk about the fifth thing is giving abundant exchange. So it's a term we learned a long time ago when we were in network marketing. And I'm going to use it again, say giving abundant exchange is important because we're in a world where people are getting the minimum. We mentioned earlier, I come in at 9, I leave at 5, right? You want to develop your own personal work ethic. And the reason why it's so important is because if you're giving abundant exchange at somebody else's vision, if you decide to leave and do your own vision, you've already built the habit of doing, going above and beyond. And I hear this so many times because we go to different events sometimes, Nate, and people ask me different questions and how do you do this? I've been writing children's books for the last 20 years. and I just started an animation company, and that's doing really well actually. And so people ask how you do that, and oftentimes people would think I'll raise my game once I start my own business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The reality is you play like you practice. So if you're not doing a great job or you're not operating at your excellence at your job you're currently at, most likely you won't operate in excellence in your own business because you haven't built a muscle to do it,
Yeah,
right? You'll
yeah,
start off great. Everybody does. You know, you had a high energy at the beginning. I'm so excited about it. And
yeah.
then 2 months in, you'll be like, it's just like the job. It's like, so
No,
because no matter,
actually, it's harder than the job.
it's hard. It's much harder. And a lot of people don't realize that running your own
No,
business
no.
is so much harder than it is at work for somebody else. Because the one big change is that every 2 weeks you don't get a check, so you gotta go down hunt and get
No,
your stuff.
sir.
Um, but I want you guys to understand watching this video is that if you use these 5 steps and really dig into them and really make them your own, there is nothing that can stop you.
Nothing.
Literally, I have forced promotions, I have forced raises. And what I mean by that is I had a manager and I was trying to get a $10,000 raise, and he was like, we don't have it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this information, my documentation, I'm gonna take this somewhere else and I'm gonna get hired. And he was like, okay. I went somewhere else, got hired. I came back and I was like, you can get a match here, I'm leaving. And he was like, hold on. Let me talk to him. And actually should have left, but I stayed because I like that manager.
Right.
And he got me my raise, but then he got fired. And then I was like, it was just crazy. It's a whole other story about that. But the whole point was, if I didn't have my documentation, he would know how good I was. And the place I went to go to interview would know how good I was at
Right.
my job. So I know these work because I've used them and it's worked for me. And anybody who I know who's used them, these same steps, has always dictated their path, whether it be in corporate America or their own business. So, Nate, I'm gonna let you close it out.
Yeah. And here's another very important point about using these steps. It builds your confidence in yourself, right? So when you have these steps in place, you know who you are, and you know your worth, and you know that you can go anywhere, right? With 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 that type of level of confidence, and you would get hired, and you'll be a producer because you have all these steps in place, right? So it's so important. Brother, this has been an amazing topic for us to discuss and share with the masses. Love those steps. Like I said, I wish I had all these steps. Some of the stuff I knew, but it's different when you have a mentor, somebody that's actually sharing with you, and you can follow it daily. So I'm glad we're doing this. I'm glad we're sharing with the masses, and I really hope it's going to help some people be more productive, be more successful in whatever it is that they're doing, because you can apply this to anything. So
I and I'll add make sure you go to our Patreon, just like me
yes,
world, on Patreon, because we're going to have more of these types of discussion and more extended versions. We actually probably going
yes,
to do a live too. So if you actually have a specific situation that you want us to talk to you about or answer, we'll have a live session about it. A
and the
better life.
Patreon is free, by the way. So
Yeah,
it's
Patreon's
no
gonna be
cost.
free. You sign up for
No
free,
cost. All
no
right.
cost. We're gonna have a checklist from this topic that you can use. I'm gonna say probably in the next week or so, it'll be up on Patreon. You can use that checklist for yourself to make sure you stay on track. We'll have even more content for you on Patreon, diving deeper into this stuff. So if you don't quite know how to document the way you want to document, or you need help with your work identity or creating a vision, we'll be there to help you in that process. A better
Absolutely.
life for you, the
Absolutely.
channel we're creating, is specifically to help you. That's what we're here for. And we want to make sure that, and we love everybody, but with specifically Black people in corporate America, we want you to win, right? We want everybody to win, but we know there are challenges that we face that other people don't face. and
Absolutely.
we will make sure that you get every opportunity to get what you've earned and what you worked for. So,
Yep.
with that, you
Without
guys
further
have a great
ado,
one.
yeah. Thank you all so much. YB again, thank you.
Thank you,
And we'll
sir.
see
You have a
you
great
next
one.
room.
All right.
Take care.